Welcome to hour number 3 of National Post Radio. Here's your host, Anthony Furey.
Here's a headline that could only come out of Ontario politics. The Ontario Liberal government has announced a tax increase. I'm just laughing because I've never said this sentence before ever in my career. Of 13,500%. 13,500%. They're increasing an existing fee that water bottlers will have to pay for every million liters of groundwater taken. So companies that sell bottled water are now going to see their fees jacked up considerably. They will now have to pay $503.71. Not sure where they got that figure from, for every million liters of groundwater taken. And now the Canadian Bottled Water Association is opposing this, saying it's a terrible increase and it will represent added costs to the consumer. Why did the government do this? What's behind this? We're joined now by Elizabeth Griswold, who's the Executive Director for the Canadian Bottled Water Association, for more on this rather wild fee increase. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me on the show. How are you today?
Very good. I love summer.
So yeah, I'm loving summer too. Although I know your association unhappy with this increase again. Like I can't believe 13,500% from an existing fee which has been in place since 2009. What are your thoughts when you heard about this coming into effect yesterday?
Well, our primary priorities, our two priorities regarding groundwater in Ontario is, first of all, it has to be sustained and it has to be properly managed. And the second priority is to effectively sustain the resource, you must include all users, not just one small user that actually uses 0.2%.
And then that's you guys, you're saying. Bottled water companies use 0.2% of water?
Absolutely. And according to the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change's own data, they permit 7 billion liters of water to be taken from Ontario groundwater per day.
From everyone, like that includes just residential people flushing the toilets or big, large manufacturing using a lot of water?
Correct. And of that 7 billion, the bottled water industry as a whole in Ontario uses 13 million. That's 0.2%. We are such a small user, and you had made a comment earlier that was significant. Why are they doing this? Their comments are it's so that they can properly manage the resource. Makes absolutely no sense. The fee increase is without question unreasonable and perhaps even unconstitutional. And they're not going to do anything to protect groundwater in Ontario.
So previously the fee was $3.71, I believe, for every million liters. Now that's gone up to $503.71. So basically an extra $500 fee there. Was this something that was done in consultation with industry? I can't imagine you guys would have been backing this.
Well, they did post their 3 electronic bulletins and their proposed regulations where they could get statements from industry or general public.
Right.
Anybody who wants to comment can. The industry did comment. We did have consultation with some staff, but basically they told us there's nothing they can do, that they hear us, but this is how it's going to be. So were we listened to? Did they hear us? We even question whether they even read our submission.
Now, there are a lot of added fees for manufacturers in Ontario right now. We have seen significant job losses because of increased hydro rates. I imagine we talk about bottled water producers obviously looking at water as one of their major costs, but I imagine electricity is an added cost too. This is probably a new burden for you in addition to the burdens that other manufacturers and producers are facing.
Absolutely. And the cost of doing business in Ontario continues to increase And this will have an impact on the cost to consumers, unfortunately. And the fee is only part of what the government has added to bottled water only. They have a technical document that was not reviewed and approved by the hydrogeological group in Ontario that requires just the bottled water industry to go way beyond what is required, reasonable, on technical information to get to the government regarding water taking. So that cost will probably be as much, if not more, than the new tax that they've put on.
We're joined now by Elizabeth Griswold, who is the Executive Director of the Canadian Bottled Water Association. The Ontario government just yesterday hiking the water-taking fee on bottled water producers by 13,500%. I've never said that phrase before. Such a massive hike. Elizabeth, I have a story up on my screen right now. Ontario to review permits for bottled water companies after outcry over costs. This is a story from a year ago, last August, at nationalpost.com, saying that some municipalities, I guess, were unhappy about this, including environmental groups. They were particularly upset that one group, which I imagine is a member of your association, Nestle Waters in Aberfoyle, a town in the Guelph area, they were allowed to keep extracting water, at least the same amount of water from a local well in the midst of a severe drought. So I guess some water advocates or whatever are saying that water producers maybe are should have their water rights curtailed at certain times. They're unhappy with that. I can appreciate the point that, if you're still taking in millions of liters during a drought, that's maybe not that good for the community. How do you respond to that?
The same thing. It needs to be everybody involved in protecting the resource, whether it is a drought or that we have excessive rainfall like we've had this summer. What's important, though, to understand is last summer the industry voluntarily decreased 20% of their water taking, but the media typically didn't provide any details from the industry's perspective.
And it's interesting you point out we have a lot of water this summer, so we're no longer in a drought situation, but this is the summer where the new fees are being added.
Exactly. And the fee increase, as well as the additional technical comments or requirements that are required by government, not only affect large companies such as Nestle, but they have a significant impact on many of the majority of our bottlers, actually, that are small family-owned companies. And I have to tell you, I'm aware of 2 companies that have to shut their operations down because of these new fees.
Wow. Where do you think this is going to head? I mean, I've talked to a lot of manufacturers, not water producers, but in other sectors who try and talk to the Ontario Liberal government. And they've actually sent me the email exchanges, and they're pretty terse. They don't actually make progress on it. How are you guys hoping to make progress on this issue?
We're just going to continue to speak to the public and do what we need to and get more and more facts about how this came about and determine whether or not they legally can do this.
Well, what do you think the case is to suggest that they legally can't? I mean, the government's pretty powerful. They can issue a statute for pretty much anything.
They cannot charge a fee or a tax directly, or they cannot charge a fee or tax direct to industry that doesn't cover management of their specific segment of the resource. So if they're charging us an additional 13,500% to manage just the bottled water industry's use of the groundwater in Ontario, where is that going to go? And have they opened Pandora's box?
Right. No, good point. I forget the name of that rule, but you can't even, when you're renewing your driver's license, say the fee of it can't be a fee that is used to go and spend on other sort of government services. It all has to be to managing that system. So, yeah, I can't remember the name of that legal ruling, but you're right. Looks like you might have a case there. Elizabeth Griswold, the Executive Director of the Canadian Bottled Water Association. Thanks for joining us today.
You're very welcome, and stay hydrated.
Have a great day.